Hello there again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, and whatever. This is me, Al, and I remember I said last time that I wanted to go ahead and start building a file class. Oh, how do you like my new wallpaper? It's pretty nice, huh? You see how I managed to do that right click, although it's not really working. I mean, the box isn't coming up. I figured out how to make a right click, how to make the right click thing feature work again. Come on, empty the recycle bin. Well, while it's busy with that, trying to figure out, I think a better, maybe more useful topic to turn to is one of my own things is this graphing function, which initially I wanted to just talk about these for meat curves. There was no interest in that, so I gave up on it. But the program itself continues to develop. And as you can see, I've added more of the eye candy kind of stuff. I can have wallpapers now. See, the stretching's not very good. I'm still using stretch split, but I found something that may save me on that. Some code for stretch splitting. I just need to try and cut out the bits that I need, and try to figure out how to get them into like we're working with the Windows device context and stuff. I mean, he already has a thing that draws to a device context, and he has a thing where you can read from an H bitmap, but an H bitmap is nothing more than a device context. So I think I can make that work. But mainly the interest in this on the programming side is in that this is has become almost a complete windowing environment. It's a number of the features which, when I started this out, I would have laughed at the idea of thinking that it might be possible to do these things. Are things that I felt just that way about. I just added, for instance, this new function. This is let's give it a nice color. This here that looks like an infinity symbol, it's called a lemniscate. It's an interesting curve, and it has some strange characteristics. The formula for it I still have written down. Not doodling this. No. I was making another video, and talking about this lemniscate. In any case, I still have to solve the keyboard focus problem. This lemniscate thing is actually related to those conic sections. It's related to hyperbole. I looked it up, and see this thing itself is in polar form. It's written this way. squared equals, well, you can say 4, 4 times const, but in Google thing, they wrote it this way: 2a squared. You can write it any way you want, but some positive constant that indicates it's positive and that it's the root of it is irrational. It's an irrational. That's known, by the way, right? Yeah, that's something you can prove very easily. Now, is it cosine 2 theta, I think. Oh, and here's another thing. One of the things I wanted was to turn off the italics. So I have a thing, it's the same format that you would use to turn on italics, but it turns them off. And this thing here is called a lemniscate. And this is the polar form for it. So if you solve that, then you have to take a square root, and you get r equals plus or minus, it will be square root 2 a, and then square root cos that should work, I think. Hope so. 2 theta. Yeah, so I should, except the a should be, I think it should be on the outside. You can't really tell the way it is. Now, just being able to do what I just did, I think is pretty, it's a pretty amazing task, right? Oh, don't bring that inside. That's true. That's 2. I can put a 2 here. Get rid of this. 2 cos 2 theta. Okay. But anyway, what that implies is that if cos theta is negative, then it's not defined. And so that means 45 degrees here. Here's the easy way to make a 45-degree line. Let's see, go to polynomial y equals 0, function. Take an off-white sort of color and rotate it 45 degrees. Now it gets in the way of all these things. We have to put that here. Well, here's another thing. This mode is now called shapes, not gosh darn it. I can get rid of that. I can pick this thing up, but they're pretty thin. This is for doing linear algebra stuff when you want to make matrices. I added this little feature to do this, to draw a part of a square box, and I'll have to like fiddle around with the mouse. Anyway, from 45 degrees to 135 degrees, in this region, block off again. I need to be able to. How long do you think it'll take me to finish the code that lets me collect a few things and move them together? Given what you've seen so far, and for instance the fact that I can move this. Just, maybe I can't move this one. Yeah, I can't get rid of it. I have to make small adjustments. See, because depending on the line thickness, this thing may or may not fit in. I gotta shrink it a little, just a little bit more. Well, forget that. Let me just show you. That does work, and it's easy enough to fix. That function, the lemniscate thing, I just added 15 minutes, like just earlier today. Oh gosh darn it. Because it's an interesting little function, and it's related to hyperbole, related to conics, which are all very interesting just in themselves. That used to be a big problem for me. And inside here it's undefined. And here too. But you see what's going on with this program is that what's happening is that rescaling thing that I used to talk about over and over again. That as you develop a thing, and if you're mindful and collecting your results and accumulating them, then your abilities to add and alter things become greater, and the complexity, even though the complexity of the program is increasing, the complexity of the work is not. I don't know if I can click this now. It's ahead of that. Yeah, that's another thing I have to fix. Yeah. I wonder what happens now. We can just delete it. Put these back in a minute. I have to do something about when things overlap. What I will do is I'll bring up a box and let you select which of the ones you wanted to select. But also it seems to be, see these things as I add them have their own little groups, right? Like this thing, the graph is in the functions group, which is supposed to have higher the above the lines. I have them sorted out into an array, and the array indicates their who's on top of what. Lines are on the bottom, polygon, vector. Oh, that's just for edit things. So. Those functions have their own, where do they go? Anyway, that doesn't matter. This here shape is an arbitrary thing, right? The code that's managing moving it around obviously doesn't know anything about it, right? This here is drawing itself as I move it around, but it's not a bitmap picture, right? It's recomputing that, and if I save this, where it's supposed to go, where is it supposed to go? This is no, I don't want that. Data, no, this is like my own personal stuff, presumably. My own files, not like if you're working on Word documents. Well, the default shouldn't have been no. That's my own fault. It has its own extension, SK3. SuperCAD. That's why. But SC didn't sound right, so I thought K. I know that. Okay, I clear all this out. I close the program. I run it again. Oh, really? I go to open that file. So now I'm going to be in the right directory or not? Allen. Okay. So here, a collection of arbitrary objects and text with all their properties restored exactly as they were. I don't have the previous definition anymore. Which I think fit properly here. Equals plus, not plus, 2a squared square root of cos, yeah, 2 theta. Well, anyway, I have more and more abilities to do things with this program. And I can tack on little pretty things like this wallpaper thing if I want, very easily. I took some ones that were like darker ones that wouldn't interfere so much with the I thought I just opened that. Whoops. I know. There we wouldn't it interfere so much with the visuals. Although another possible view would be white on black, black lines and white background. You could do that, and then I could have more colorful background. There's nothing stopping that. Let's see. Let me just try and let me fix that stupid off by one thing first, because there's something funny and cute about that. Okay, I just gotta find the place where it serves. I'll draw a line and just try and put it back. And this one fits. What I had done was okay, good enough. This won't fit back in. No, it does. Maybe the thickness was higher. Yeah. See, it's thick, and so therefore the box has to be bigger, and I can't squeeze it back in there. And all I gotta do, I didn't stop where it was serving. Now, there's this thing called the selection spray. Now, I could just, if I wanted to, point indirect top left, graph, point indirect left. What I can do very quickly. Is that going to be right? Like, do I have to say, is 4 going to, I think 4 is actually 8. I think it's double that, so it should work without any adjustments. I've also been adding, as you can guess, lots of little functions to speed things up. Deflate, I just noticed myself always doing the same thing. Like I'd expand something by an even amount and then move it back by that same amount, and that has the effect of expansion with the center point staying the same. So instead of having to write 2 function names and 4 parameter values, 1 name and 1 parameter. Should be, because it still won't fit then. Okay, well that might be because that's exactly what that thing is. I mean, what I just had before, and it is, in fact. Should have expected that. So, to repeat in slow and English, what I had previously was altering the top left and bottom right corners of this rectangle in such a way as to make it small enough to fit back into the drawing area. And it seems that this one's still too big. Let me try. I don't want to go too far. But actually, just for this part, it shouldn't matter to me. And I shouldn't even return here. I should put it in anyway. I just want to make sure that the object itself is not going to be. See, there's the rectangle of the box, and there's the line itself, which are not the same thing. One's bigger than the other. Yeah. Will that fit? It looks like no. Oh, it does. Okay. It didn't draw correctly. Alright. I don't want them that thick though. So it should work in either case. Like, I'll just give you an example of something that used to be a big trouble for me. Like rotation of axes, okay? Well, I don't need the right angle yet. Oh, I do actually. I do want the right angle. What I would do is I'd say I would try to get that on here. I mean, fitting in crossing the axis. But that now I can do later, right? And since this was in right angle mode, anything that's at a right angle to that thing, I don't know what. Oh, yeah, of course. Because of the change I just made, the box for that in this particular case. But what about other cases? Will the box disappear? That's what I want. I don't want to break things that are working. Yeah, see? The boxes now don't disappear. However, do I use this rect? Get rect. Now that's a temp. And I see I'm using that rect again. So all I gotta do is inflate that back by 8. And everything should be fine. The drawing all happens, but the stuff that you see that occurs on the screen only occurs if I specify. I could draw a whole bunch of things and nothing would appear to change. No. Okay. There, that's fixed. There. There are those things like I just showed you before. More complex objects than just one thing, right? This has several pieces and they move together. So it's like a window. Like a window has a bunch of objects, and they move together and they're part of a single thing. Just like I might have a sentence. The landscape. Okay, this is composed of two things. I'm not changing the font to an underlined font. I just draw a line that's of the right length. So that's two things together. And sometimes I might have more complex things. What's in mind? this has the square root symbol and this text in here and a little arrow, and they all move together. So it's like a little window. It's like a little window. But it's certainly the code to add that wasn't difficult. And these functions, which are arbitrary in nature, you saw me just moving those lines. Um, uh, are part of the whole system of objects in this little environment, right? And they they can draw themselves, and there's an awareness uh, from the rest of the program of where these things are and how to pick them up and how to move them and how to save them and how to restore them and so on. What's another kind of thing I can do? Like here, for instance, these things are just falling out now. When I go back to the shape mode, so I don't want the color like that white. Yeah. I'm attempting to draw one of those lines. Okay. I can move it around. It's a very complicated object. It involves it's got that smoothing in it. It's a smooth function built from a cardinal spline, and there's a lot of information in there, right? That I don't have to manage because everything's put into its own compartment. This here is like a whole bunch of windows, like a couple hundred windows all in one thing. But again, you'd think that something as complex as this was Alan. My name up here. As these sorts of things couldn't possibly, it would be an impossibility to come up with a format for a file format for saving or adding new things. But I just added this feature like 10 minutes ago that I can move these things around, right? And let me just add to that thing the brand new function, the lend escape, added just earlier today. Or I'll close the program. It took me I'll show you the code for loading and saving. That I had to add to support the new object that was added to this universe. Oh, don't tell me. Of course, it would be in this example. So maybe I can ignore it. Okay, I was able to ignore it. Something it has to do with this one, I'm pretty sure. Everything else came back, right? Well, what if I delete this one? obviously to do with that one because I got the same assert. So I've already located that bug and I can easily fix it. This time it shouldn't assert. The format I'm using for saving these files, whoops, I don't want to say it, I'm going to open, is, I'm not using any, oh no, I still get it. I wonder which one it is. Okay, which one would just process of elimination. What? I don't really have to close the program, just to be sure that nothing's left over when it crashes. It's probably okay. It was probably that line then. What if I add a new line? Save it. Ah, see, look, there are two. There shouldn't be two. Something wrong. Okay, no problem. I can fix that. What I must have had there previously was maybe a line that didn't have any, wasn't visible because it was like 2 pixels apart, and so I had a division by 0 in the floating point sense. Because when I've looked at that error before, either the value was uninitialized or I had divided something by 0, because it was like e plus 66. Actually, if it's plus 66, that sounds like uninitialized. Okay, anyway, that's not important. The important thing is that here is a program that can do a lot of complicated things. It's very easy for me to add new features. These here are completely customized checkbox things. In fact, I can show you. That's not the command. This one. This is the image that I use. I have support for opening images, and well, at least I can move them around. There are two, in fact. Whoops. Opening an image is not the same as opening a whole new file. There's a small one and a large one because I couldn't fit these. If I tried to use this big one, I didn't have enough space. So I made a new one, and all these things are, these toggle buttons, is that they each have either shared or a copy of this image in their own private memory DC. And it uses the same code that I used for that the little horsey animation, which I could probably add to this too. If I wanted an animated GIF in here, it would be not very much work to add it. This is, and I don't support JPEG or PNG or anything, but I have code that I can add to support those formats. There's that stuff with the sprites that you saw. I don't know. You might be asking for trouble doing it in this scenario, but yeah. Let's see, we're in Full screen is in this case for this program is slower than maybe I can just delete that. Can I delete it? I can delete everything. Maybe I should go through all of the steps it took to build this program and how someone might approach building a customized program that doesn't have any Windows controls at all. So this is essentially what a computer game programmer has to do. If if you play a computer game, there are no usually hardly any Windows buttons or anything like that in them. They're using usually direct 3D graphics or another graphics library that OpenGPL is OpenGPL or something. There are two major ones that are used for direct access to the graphics controller. I'm using GDI here the way that somebody that would use DirectX. I'm just doing my own drawing, well, besides the stretch split, which doesn't work anyway, and is going to be removed probably by the next iteration. It's all completely hand drawn. Everything. I don't actually draw these letters, okay, but it's almost at the level of doing these pixel by pixel. There's a function called draw text, but using that function is not so simple. Like if I'm writing down something like this. Let's see now. I want to make it complicated enough. All right. When I want to go through, when I'm going through and turning this into that, okay, I need to know where to put this arrow. So I need to know the length of this text. So I've got to break it up, and now this here turns the italics off. So I've got to change fonts at this point. So I'm changing fonts, and that means that I can't just put the whole thing in one go. I have to split it up into 3 draws, and so therefore at each point I have to know where to resume drawing the line, right? It's not automatic. So it's very much as if you were just doing it by hand, right? And what's worse, calculating the length of these bits of text is of no use, because there are control characters in here, right? And so you can't work out beforehand how big this thing is. You have to figure it out as you go along. The size of the size of this box, right? It's something that I need to know in order to be able to pick this up and not pick up something else by accident, and not have the box too big and not too small, and all those things that are usually handled for you by the operating system. But a person who programs computer games doesn't have that luxury. They have to do it all themselves. So they develop their own windowing system and their own system, their constructs that contain items and items that contain sub-items. And it's like a tree type structure, like this is, like Windows is, where there are parents and children and so on and so forth. But it sounds very, very complicated, and it's complicated. It would be complicated if you try to do all of this, uh, piecemeal. But if you do it correctly, and if you follow the simple rules like of rescaling by redesign and by packaging things that you've already solved, problems you've already solved, into new objects that do a single job, right? There's an object that does this job, and the rest of the program doesn't worry about it. Right? I don't have to do this again, right? And then I don't have to do, whoops, uh, I love this box. It doesn't let you cancel. I don't have to know how to rotate a lemniscate by 36 degrees, right? That's a complicated function. The rotate, I mean, if you were to try to write out this function, or try to do this task for this function, even if you know all about rotations and all that stuff, it's still a bit of a job, because, for instance, there are those regions where it's undefined, right? That you have to be careful about. And if you go ahead and rotate it and then try to draw it, you certainly, the angles that you know where you got to stop trying to evaluate the expression, because it's going to crash, have changed. But none of the stuff that it's all separated. Like there's no part of the program that tries to do two jobs together. There's a part of the program that draws this lemniscate, and I added that bit earlier in today. And that part, no other part of the program needs to know anything about. I added the thing about the doing the removing the italics thing, right? And that doesn't affect this, right? It doesn't affect the fact that I can copy it, right? All those things are being done because there's a common standard interface. I wanted to get these functions into the standard interface so I could pick them up and delete them, for instance. And now I can. It was very easy, but the result is a program that's really quite flexible, and it looks kind of professional. Even these little checkboxes are quite are quite self-contained. Now, do they do that anymore? They actually post Windows messages, just like a Windows checkbox, because I didn't want to have to go and change the code that uses these things. It passes an identifier from resource.h in, and when someone clicks on the box, it posts this thing posts a WM or a notify message into the window that was indicated that actually, let's see now, which window does it go? How does it decide? I think I just passed the H-wind in. I think this is a control panel, and this is another case of compartmentalizing. Here, they're called fancy checkbox. Okay, I passed it in. Okay, so there's something that calls control panel dispatch message, right? And the control panel currently all it does is go through and check those checkboxes, calling the function that answers the question whether or not that message was intended for them, and passing in the handle to window where it should post back the message that the answer to the question of what the message, what the reason was. And the thing that calls this, you see, now I could have used a global for this, but in fact I could imagine a case where you have more than one H-wind round, and you might want to have another set of checkboxes that's independent of the main window. This here is actually, the control panel doesn't have its own window. The H-windness of it, or whatever, its only relation to H-wind is whatever is passed in. And as you can imagine, that's just the main window of the program at some point. There's only one window around, it turns out. Well, there are two. It depends on, when I switch modes. Where's the control panel? Just trying to find it. Where it's called. Here. So that's H-wind bracket member of Hermite. Yeah, there's this thing about full screen and windowed mode. So there are actually two windows that can exist. When I do this or press F11, that window you just saw has now been destroyed, and a whole new window has been created, and everything restored to the state it was. You'd think that too would be a complicated job, right? But that job's not complicated because these images, all of it, every bit, the text and the functions and all these things are stored in a second memory buffer, what they call a memory device context, and that memory device context never changes. And all of the drawing code of this program is to blit from that memory device context onto the screen. So nothing changed when I did that in terms of the underlying memory device context. So I don't have to keep track of. I don't have to rebuild this screen. All I gotta do is rebuild the window. Anyway, I'm blabbing on, and I'm telling you, just been observing, and I've been observing for myself that I think that this is a great example of something, the kind of programming that is used in many real-life scenarios, computer games, and is the best example I can think of. And so it might be useful to someone watching, I guess, to see how to build a system like this. It wasn't something I designed from the ground up. It was mostly I started. You know what I started with? I started with that window thing, the project called Window. Well, that's that. There's a project called Window, and I remember it was stupid. I tried to use my copy project thing on this, and it screwed everything up. This is the project that I began with, and I renamed to this, incidentally. Here's the program. Okay, that's the WinMain. Window proc. And this, I don't even know if it compiles. I may have changed too many things. Easy to fix, but I renamed a lot of things. And I just discovered a bug too. Not my bug. The compiler has a bug. Let me check my time. Well, that's an hour. Whether or not this thing runs is anyone's guess. That's true. Let's see, I renamed this to create new, I think. What I kept doing, and I made the same mistake twice, was I'd declare one of these things and then call, as with the arrow, create. But this is not a member function, it's a static. And I can't think of any way to prevent myself from calling a static function as if it were a member function. It doesn't allow you to give what I would do is I'd make a member function with the same name, right, and just make it unresolved. Make it unresolved, so I'd get a linker error or something at least. But it didn't work. Window. Yeah, see? This is the thing that does that. One of the first projects we ever did. That was what I started with, and this thing now is what I've got. You know, as a result, a pretty cool little program. It can do things like draw arrows, yeah, or draw these. This is what they call a Catmull ROM spline. They look best next to this. They're nice, smooth. One thing I could do now that I've taken the mouse support and I've put it into one compartment, as I did with this and everything else, if I can detect a begin drag, right? And if I added the support for like an extended drag operation, then I could have a pen mode. So I'd click on pen, and then I would just click and draw a circle around something, and it would just produce that automatically. There's nothing to it. I could do that by the end of today. By the end of the afternoon. It's just a matter of knowing when the mouse is down and when the mouse is up. Building the curve, that code's finished. Okay, well, sorry if that's wasting your time, but I think I'll try and think of a few lessons that specific bits of this program uh, that would help a person design something like this of their own. See you.